The gift of failure. Here's a paradox. The very thing most people fear, the sting of failure, is exactly what makes you unstoppable. We've been taught to see mistakes as proof of weakness, but neuroscience reveals something shocking. Your brain learns more from errors than from successes. Think about it. Muscles only grow after tiny tears. In the same way, your neurons break old patterns every time you fail, forcing your brain to rewire stronger pathways. So, what if failure wasn't the end of the road, but the hidden fuel of growth? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see why every mistake you make is proof that you're evolving. Why does your brain learn faster from mistakes than from success? Here's the science. Every time you make a mistake, your brain triggers a process called neuroplasticity, the ability to rewire itself. Errors aren't signs of weakness, they're signals. When you correct them, your brain strengthens the connection, like reinforcing a bridge after it cracks. Stanford researchers proved this with students. Those who made mistakes and reviewed them learned faster and remembered longer than those who got things right on the first try. In other words, success doesn't teach you nearly as much as failure does. And here's the part most people miss. You can apply this daily. Whenever you fail, instead of ignoring it, record the mistake, adjust the strategy, and repeat the attempt. Each cycle doesn't just improve performance, it physically reshapes your brain. So, the next time you get something wrong, realize this. Your neurons are literally upgrading. But this is only the beginning, because mistakes don't just shape skills. They can even reprogram your beliefs about yourself. Can believing in yourself turn failure into power? Here's where psychology steps in. There's a phenomenon called the Galatea effect. The idea that what you believe about yourself directly influences your performance. If you believe you're capable of bouncing back, your brain and body align with that expectation. Take elite athletes, for example. Many Olympic champions say their biggest setbacks, the injuries, the defeats, the crushing losses, came right before their record-breaking performances. Why? Because instead of letting failure define them, they used it as proof that they were still in the fight. And you can train this belief too. Try this exercise. Write down 3 times in your life when you failed and later succeeded. Look at those stories not as exceptions, but as evidence of your real strength. Every line on that list is proof that you don't just survive failure, you grow through it. Now, here's the twist. This belief isn't just mental. Neuroscience shows that your brain actually rewards you for failing. With dopamine. Does failure trigger hidden dopamine in your brain? Here's the surprising truth. Your brain doesn't just release dopamine when you win. It also does it when you notice progress after a mistake. Think of dopamine as your brain's pay attention signal. Success gives you a quick spike. But the real magic happens when you stumble, adjust, and then see even a tiny improvement. That's when dopamine reinforces the lesson, telling your brain, this new path works, keep it. It means your brain is wired not to celebrate perfection, but to reward progress. That's why success can feel empty. Because what we really crave isn't the trophy at the end, but the sensation of improvement along the way. So here's the reframe. Don't treat failure as defeat. Treat it as an experiment. Every wrong turn is data. Every adjustment is progress. And every bit of progress triggers the brain's natural motivation system, which raises an even deeper question. If science proves that failure fuels growth, what did philosophers already know about it centuries ago? What did philosophers know about failure centuries ago? Long before neuroscience could scan the brain, philosophers already understood the gift hidden inside failure. The Stoic thinker Seneca wrote, "He who has fallen once is better prepared to walk again." In other words, the person who stumbles is not weaker. He's better equipped for the next step. And then there's Thomas Edison, who famously said he didn't fail 1,000 times while inventing the light bulb. He simply discovered 1,000 ways that didn't work. Each so-called failure wasn't an endpoint, but a stepping stone. This perspective shifts everything. Failure is not a verdict, it's a process. It's not about labeling yourself as broken, but about seeing each setback as an unfinished chapter in the story of growth. Here's a practice you can try. Redefine your vocabulary. Instead of saying, "I failed," say, "I'm still in process." Language matters because the words you use create the lens through which your brain interprets reality. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Avoiding failure altogether doesn't protect you. In fact, it makes you weaker. Why does avoiding failure make you weaker? Here's the paradox. The more you try to protect yourself from mistakes, the less resilient your brain becomes. Biology has a name for this: hormesis. It's the principle that small doses of stress make an organism stronger. Just like muscles grow under weight and the immune system adapts after exposure to a virus, your brain needs the stress of mistakes to build resilience. Without that exposure, neural circuits stay fragile. That's why children who grow up overprotected, shielded from failure, from risk, from discomfort, often face higher anxiety as adults. Their brains never had the chance to practice bouncing back. So, how do you build this resilience? By creating what we can call controlled micro-failures. Try learning a new skill without the fear of being wrong. Let yourself attempt a language you don't speak, a song you can't play, or a skill you've never tried. Each small stumble trains your brain to recover, adapt, and strengthen. Because here's the truth: without failure, resilience dies. But when you stop running from mistakes, something powerful happens. You begin to rewrite your very identity. How do you turn failure into part of your identity? Failure only paralyzes when it becomes a label. Saying, "I failed," is very different from saying, "I am a failure." One is an event. The other is an identity. Neuroscience shows that your sense of identity isn't fixed. It's constantly reshaped by repetition. The brain doesn't hold on to single events as much as it does to repeated patterns, which means one mistake doesn't define you, but the story you tell about that mistake does. So here's the shift. Instead of collecting failures as scars, start weaving them into your evolution story. Keep a simple journal where you record 3 things: the failure itself, the adjustment you made, the progress that followed. Do this consistently, and failure stops being a wound. It becomes part of your growth narrative. Over time, you'll start to see yourself not as someone who gets it wrong, but as someone who is always adapting, always learning, always moving forward. And that leads us to the ultimate truth. Failure was never the opposite of success. It was always the mechanism that creates it. So, let's put it all together. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's the very mechanism that produces it. Your brain rewires through mistakes. Your beliefs about yourself grow stronger when tested. Your dopamine system lights up at progress, not perfection. Philosophers, athletes, and scientists all converge on the same truth. Failure is not your enemy. It's your greatest teacher. And here's the reflection I want you to leave with. Failure is the toughest teacher, but also the most generous one. It gives you lessons no victory ever could. If you embrace it, it doesn't just shape what you can do. It reshapes who you are. Now, here's your next step. Share one failure in the comments that, looking back, you're grateful for. You'll be surprised how many people will connect with your story. If this gave you a new perspective, subscribe so you don't miss the next science-based strategy for building resilience and purpose. And before you go, watch this next video. It will show you how to rewire your focus in just 10 minutes. Because if failure is the path to growth, then what you do next is the proof that you're unstoppable. To reinforce the information in this video, listen to this song, which can help increase your concentration and cognition.